Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Today is Thursday, November 11th. I got asked a couple days ago, like a week ago, maybe a week ago, hey, what do you want for Christmas from my father and my mom? Actually, no, a couple days ago from my dad, about a week ago from my mom, what do you want for Christmas? And I was just like, well, I don't know. I almost said nothing. I almost said nothing because I'm kind of at the age now, I think, and the bold age of 28, where I don't know if I really want gifts anymore. It might sound weird, but I'm not the most materialistic person, and also I pretty much have everything that I want and that I need. So Christmas is I guess I kind of don't really partake in it halfway. I mean, I do buy people gifts if they want gifts. If they give me I'll ask my brother or my sister or what do you want for Christmas? And they'll tell me here, this is what I want. And I'm like, wow, you really want these? Or you need these? And yeah, I do. And I'm I have none of that inclination or any of that desire to want stuff anymore. I don't know. It's a weird part of growing up, I guess. I mean, I remember I used to ask my dad and my mom when I was a kid, what'd you want for Christmas? And nothing, or not that I could afford anything. Maybe one or two things, maybe a necklace or a watch or something like that, or I don't know, a new pair of shoes. But I kind of feel I am at that age now, and I feel I've been at that age for at least 2 years, where I'm just get me whatever you think I want. Whatever you think I need, get it, because I don't know what I want. Or what I need, really, because I pretty much have everything that I need. And I just find that more and more as years go by, recently, that I'm just I don't really think that I need anything. Is that bad, though? Is that something that I should be, is something going on in my brain that's, causing me to think that way? I don't know. I mean, I could ask somebody. I mean, I just feel I'm not that materialistic that I don't need that much stuff. Because if I do need it, I'll just buy it. Or I'll find a way to get it, I just feel it's just like that. I guess it's just growing up, though, I think. In a way, I guess it's just growing up. You feel you're already kind of grown out of the thing, Christmas is about, as a kid, you're just give me, and all that. And then you never really give, though. You just get all the gifts. And I just I've been very privileged to be getting living in a family where I can receive gifts from parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents. It's throughout my my growth and my childhood. But I don't know. I hope that's not a dampening spirit type of mentality. I surely hope it's not. And I don't think it is. I just feel it's kind of I guess becoming more mature. But I also know that other people my friends, they I'm sure they have things that they want or that they need or that they, put on their a Christmas list or whatever. Hey, you know what? I've been thinking about getting this for Christmas or I kind of want this for Christmas. Here, why don't you give me that or something like that? I'm never one to say, get me this for Christmas. Now, I do, this year was different though. This year, I said one thing, really. Just give me some shoes, because I'm notorious for not having good shoes. I've had these pair of Vans that I've been wearing right now for about, I'm not sure when I got them, but I want to say over 5 years ago, possibly. I don't think that it was before or after that, for sure, because I just feel these shoes that I have right now, these gray Vans, which actually I got a compliment from at the dentist that she liked the color. But I'm oh, sorry, lady, you have no idea how old these shoes are and how uncomfortable that they are. Because I will admit, though, these shoes that I'm wearing right now, that the ones that I currently wear, are not comfortable at all. They're coming apart, kind of. They're getting loose with the rubber and the actual leather part of the shoe or the cloth part. is like becoming loose, and like it's like any moment I feel like if I step too hard or aggressively walk, I feel like that they could just come apart and I'll have no shoe. So I did ask for shoes. I'm like, you know what? It's the time. I think it's fine. It's time to get shoes because I'm not the person to go shopping for clothing or shoes at all. Never have been. I don't think I ever will be. Because I just feel like I can just keep wearing shoes and pants and shirts that I've had for like 5 years and just be fine with it. It's kind of like the mentality that you have with underwear. As a guy, I feel like I never have to buy any underwear because I can just wash them and they're all clean. That's not true. You should be buying underwear like at least twice a year, I think. At least a new batch of underwear. There's still some underwear that I wear that are like at least 3.5 years old. Am I proud of it? No, I'm not proud of it at all. And like you can tell like they feel thinner. They're a little bit looser than you remember. The thread is like there's like more thread coming off it like than you thought that could. Especially like around like the elastic band where like you need all that elastic thread to just keep your underwear to be keep night high and tight. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I'm pretty good at giving gifts, so I think I give a couple gag gifts in my past that I think that are pretty funny in the moments and in the situation of that gift. And if my mom's like, hey, buy your sister this, I'll be like, yeah, I'll buy her that for sure. And I'll be like, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I have to be given a clue or a hint of what to buy somebody. And then when I do, and then I'll just, I have in my head what I want. It's only certain times where I'm like, I don't know what you want. Like my dad, for instance. I've given that man so many clothes, it's like he doesn't need any more clothes. Doesn't need any more clothes. He already has everything he needs phone-wise. He has a watch. He has, a lot of pairs of shoes. He buys a lot of his own clothes. It's like he knows when he needs new things, he'll just buy them. So it's like I don't need to buy him anything. Like, what am I gonna get you? Another mug or something? Something like that. It's like I'm just like so like I don't know what anybody wants anymore. Like I tried buying my mom a nice variety pack of like wooden spoons for cooking and all that, right? And I will admit I did not do very good shopping or very good research on them because I just bought them off of Amazon. And they were so cheap. They were like, very, very cheap. And then the next year, I think she buys like very high quality spoons and spatulas made of wood and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wow, I should have like, done better on my part with that because mine were just, god awful. I'm surprised that she still even has them, to be honest with you. But yeah, that time is coming now. I mean, we just got down our Christmas stuff, very prematurely, which I'm not a fan of. I think that it's, heinous and a little bit, just not really time yet. I mean, it's November 11th. We're not even at Thanksgiving yet. We got to leave that in the attic or the basement. It's just, I'm not to be a downer or anything like that. I just think that it's not the appropriate time to be decorating for Christmas yet. Now, granted, they're not going to be decorating until the week before Thanksgiving, which is like, okay, I'll give you a pass on that. I mean, that's not like right now, but, you're getting ready. You're getting too excited at the moment. That's just what I think, though. I don't know. But I've always been like that, for at least a good 8 years, maybe 8, 9 years since just cool it with the Christmas stuff. Cool with Christmas. Even though, last week I went to the dentist. They were playing Christmas music on the radio, like in the lobby. I was just like, what the hell's going on here? We just got into November and you're already playing Christmas music on the radio, and then even on like I just thought this was like a Pandora radio or like a Sirius XM, like it's always Christmas. And then I found out that on the local station, like the radio station where I live, Christmas music. It's like, oh my god, it's like it's just gonna get sooner and sooner once we just establish that that Halloween is just like for a day and all that, and they might put it back in October because it's just I remember it used to be after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving they would start playing it, and it's just be getting sooner and sooner and sooner. So, I mean, like I said, I enjoy Christmas. I'm not a Scrooge. I'm not a Grinch. I think it's a very fun holiday for family, friends. And like I said, I enjoy the build up to it. It's got a great build up of like festivities and movies you can watch, food you can eat, friends you could celebrate with, and all that. Gift exchanges, Secret Santas, whatever you want to do. It's fun. Christmas parties, it's great. But once Christmas is hits and it's over, I'm out of it. I'm totally out. I'm not a fan of the 12 days of Christmas after Christmas. I think that it's just like well, what are we doing here? Let's move on. New Year's is upon us. Let's just move on. And I've always kind of been like that. I always thought that the 12 days of Christmas was, building up to it, but it's after it. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. But, I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of things. There are certain things that I'm just, not a fan of. For instance, Twitter at the moment. You might not have known this if you did, browse Twitter, go to the trending page, just kind of scroll casually, go to the For You page. But apparently, and I don't know how this happened, but I just heard about it, and I just quickly okay, I gotta stay off Twitter for a while, or not stay off it, but just avoid the sections that are being exploited at the moment. But apparently that there's some spoilers spreading about the new Spider-Man movie coming out, which is if you don't know, Spider-Man No Way Home, that is coming out. And I didn't I didn't click on anything. I just saw a warning from a person that I follow that happens to be in the movie industry, cover the movies, do interviews with actors and all that. And I was just what is? I mean, I'm not gonna click on anything, but how big of the spoilers are there? And you couldn't even go to the trending page without being kind of spoiled. You would be on the trending page, and the number one thing would be Avengers, and then number two would be Infinity War, and then Tom Holland, and then Spider-Man. I'm okay, well, I know I got to stay away now because this is just ridiculous. But that's kind of what if you want to go to if people ask you, do you go on the internet? And you're what do you mean, Google, Yahoo? No, the internet nowadays is Reddit, Twitter, anything like that. That's the internet. That's where stuff is just posted, and whether it's pop culture, a movie, or a politics, or sports, people tweet about it, people post videos, photos. Twitter is the internet now. I mean, they post straight up movie clips, movie trailers, podcast episodes like myself. They links for everything, YouTube videos. It's all Twitter nowadays. I mean, Twitter is the most it's got to be one of the most searched websites out there right now. But the fact to see it just be blatantly out there and blatantly just here's spoilers. Now I haven't actually seen them, but I've heard that it's a photo or two of the spoilers. So I'm gonna stay away from it. Stay away. And you might be well, Alex, you probably already know what it's gonna be. Why don't you just look at it or something? I don't want to have that spoiled. Because even though it probably is just a still frame and just one picture, I still want to appreciate that experience in the movies right now. I just let me have that in the movies. I don't want to have that on a Twitter, and it might not even be a good picture. It probably is really blurry, or a behind the scenes photo. I don't need to see that. Let's just wait for the movie. Now I probably have a little bit of an inkling of what it could be, but I don't want to see it yet. If you don't know, the new Spider-Man movie coming out, No Way Home, is it's supposed to be this big movie that introduces the multiverse and really shows you what it what the possibilities are, bringing in characters from other but not only universes but mollies in general that are in that in the entire multiverse. If you've seen the trailer, you see Alfred Molina's Doc Ock return in it. That's in the trailer. You can hear Green Goblin laughing, which could be William Dafoe, could be somebody else, though we don't know. But a couple days ago they released a poster of it, and you can see. This is not a spoiler because it's a poster. You can see in the background a Green Goblin, which could be some other dude. But it's not the most clear footage or photo of him, but it does kind of look like the Tobey Maguire era Green Goblin, which is exciting, but it's still let me just wait for the movie. We're about a month away now, so let's just calm down. Speaking of that, the movies have been coming out now. They've been pumping out. It's been very exciting. Like I've told you, I've already seen the No Time to Die recently, The Last Duel, Dune, and recently Eternals, which I will get to that review soon. But what's been awesome about it is most of the very good, highly anticipated movies are now coming out like pretty much like week after week now, which has been cool and fun at this and like kind of weird at the same time, because normally you would think that oh No Time to Die was definitely like a summer movie, or Spider-Man was like absolutely like a July movie that's now coming out in December, which is fine, no harm, no foul. But it's just like we're getting so many movies now that it's like I feel like that some movies will be pushing out others probably a little bit more than they faster than that they wanted to. Like for instance, when I saw Dune, I saw it a week after it came out, and after and then the week after that I saw Eternals, and I looked like at the time listings and the showings for the movies, and I saw immediately like Eternals has so many showings, and then Dune is like down to like 4, which is like, wow. I mean, like that is part of the business, but I'm just kind of like, wow. I mean, these movies are coming hard and fast and furious, if for you right there. But it's just coming out super fast. But I'm enjoying it though, because like again, I mean, I've been waiting for these movies for a while now. And now that I'm getting them, I'm going there and watching them and having a good time, for the most part, which has been awesome. And I think next week is going to be the new Ghostbusters, which is going to be another one going to want to see, which is going to push out the Eternals and then Dune and all that, and then we're going to get to the next month will be Spider-Man. So that's going to be very, very fun, exciting. I can't wait for that. But yeah, the message: stay off of Twitter. I mean, I guess maybe not stay off of it, but just be on the lookout for the spoilers. And if you're not, if you don't care about that, go for it, I guess, if you don't give a shit. But if you do, I highly suggest that you stay away, even though I haven't seen them yet. But I can only imagine that they're pretty major. So go ahead and do that. Which is weird because this movie is going to be massive, right? It's going to be huge. But this one in particular has been leaked quite a bit, I think. Okay, I can't lie to you. I did see the first trailer get leaked on YouTube. I saw it. But that's because I didn't believe it at first. Because it was weird, because it was a video on YouTube, but that was being filmed. It was a video of a phone playing it and somebody recording that phone playing the trailer, and they uploaded it to YouTube. The most cheapest way you can possibly think of, how to, leak a trailer, which they did, and I saw it, and I was like, I don't know if this is true or not. It could be not, but then I think like the following day or two, they actually released it, and I was like, oh, that was the trailer, which is crazy. Like, are so many people leaking things about this movie, or why are they doing it? I mean, do they have like bad blood with the studio? Is it the executives? Like, what's happening with this movie? I have no idea. I wish I knew, but I kind of don't want to know what that is, because I just, it probably is nothing good. It's probably something really bad, which I don't want to be a part of, or I don't even want to hear about. It's kind of like, it's movie magic, right? But you don't want to know how the movie's made, really. I mean, sure, you can. The behind the scenes stuff in like movies is always very interesting, but like you don't want to get into like the executive board deals, or the how people are being paid, disputes behind the scenes, creative differences. You don't want to see any of that. But I think if you see like behind the scenes after the movie's already done, that's fine. It kind of like reminds me of like there's this place in Disneyland called the Toonland, or Toonville, or whatever it's called. And I used to be in band, and we would go to like these annual or semi-annual trips to Disneyland to perform like in a parade or whatever. And we would go behind at Toonland to get prepared and get ready for that. And they would have the parade route would start in Toonland to go around the entire park, or most of it, and then circle all the way back into Toonland again. Back into Toonland. And you got to see the behind the scenes of like Toonland, and like all the stuff that's being like, built back there, like the props and the costumes, and like the, just like work trucks, employees just working, moving things, hauling things, getting people into costume and all that. And it's just like, you kind of see the behind the scenes of that, which is all fine and dandy. But I'm sure, like, on a, if there's like you don't see it all of it either. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that those people, those employees have bad days too. When stuff goes wrong and all that, and you just, it's kind of like, I don't want to see how this is made. I just want it to be in my hand, or I just want to see it on screen. And I think we all have that for everything. Like, I don't want to see how, this water bottle is made. I don't want to see that. I just want to have it. And, I mean, like, the work is never a pretty sight. It just never is, really. It can be, but it's mostly, you don't want to see some of the, the nitty gritty of the stuff that happens. Like, that's going to make you, like, think, do I like this? Do I not like it? It's just like a easy thing to not, enjoy. Or, I don't know. It's weird. But moving on. I did see Eternals this past weekend, actually. And I was very excited about it. I enjoyed the trailers, pretty much, all of them. I was very interested in what they had to show with Eternals, because having very little knowledge about the Eternals, like very, very little about them at all, really. And even some of my friends who are like actual like big Marvel heads, like some of them didn't know that much either. Like they were like very, very like C-tiered characters, maybe even lower. I don't know. They're not like B, maybe C or D. I don't know if you can if that's even fair to categorize them in like a C or D category. But like we didn't know much about them, and we didn't really know who they were at all. Like I just like learned the names of them like before I saw the movie, like, because they had like character posters and like who they are and who's playing them. But walking into this, I was very not skeptical, but curious about like how this is going to be done, because from what I could tell before, like these guys are fucking immortal, or like godlike, I guess, and they can't really be killed by anything like on Earth, and like they're sent there to protect Earth from these deviants. And this is not a spoiler, this is in the trailer. To protect them, and they couldn't help humanity advance because they weren't allowed to by the Celestials, which is also in the trailer. This big giant, like almost like a robot type looking thing, maybe like a stone figure that is very amazing to look at. Like when you see it for the first time, you're like, oh my god, this thing is massive. Like this thing is like gigantic. It's like this gigantic ancient robot created by the universe or something like that. They created the universe, and it's wild in that aspect, and like how that mythology is presented in the movie, which I thought that was very interesting. But moving on to the actual movie itself, without of course this is going to be non-spoiler talk about Eternals. This is going to be non-spoiler. You don't have to worry about it. Right hand wherever on my heart, no spoilers in this movie. So let's get into it. The movie has a lot of information, a lot of exposition, a lot of backstory, with a lot of characters too. There's 10 Eternals in this movie, so 10 characters, 10 all like 10 heroes in the movie, which is it could be a lot for some movies, but I've had trust in Marvel because of handling movies like Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War. They do a very good job of having multiple characters in their movies, and being able to divide the time and the story beats and development into pretty much every character that's ever in these movies. The bigger movies like Civil War and all that. And they do a very good job in this one too, I think. They do a very good job of explaining who's who, their motivations, how they became who they were, what is like their purpose and what is their abilities, because they all have different abilities, if you can probably tell by the trailers. There's some that are not really mentioned in the trailers that are in the movie, or they are mentioned in the trailers, but not as much as others. But I won't spoil that at all. You go watch the movie. But I thought that was good, done well. Every character has, their purpose, which is nice. I enjoyed that a lot. And I will say that it's not a complete origin story, like a very Marvel Studios formulaic or origin story. Like, this is his beginning, this is how he gets there, his struggles, and then the bad guy fight at the end. It's not like that. It's a little bit different. There are some flashbacks, and there are structures of the movie that are choices in the movie of how it's structured and how you get from point A to point B, and I enjoyed it quite a bit because it doesn't feel like a traditional Marvel story, and it doesn't feel like just an origin story, rehash of like, oh, this is our formula for the origin stories. We're gonna make it just like this one, and rinse and repeat. It doesn't feel like that to me at all, actually. Sometimes it kind of does feel like that, but in grand scope of how this team is, how we are introduced to the Eternals, it very much does its own thing, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I think that even though like people can criticize flashbacks and all that, but hey, that's a tool that's being used to develop all these characters, because this is our first movie with them at all. They pretty much, this is the first time we're ever going to see them. There's no mention of them in any other movie. There's no cameos. There's no end credit scenes in the past where you see them or anything like that. This is the first time we see them in anything. And I thought that was a breath of fresh air, honestly, to see these guys and who they are and seeing what they want, or their motivations and all that is very, very interesting. Now, that being said, the movie is, it's a dense material, but I think that it's told in actually a pretty, it's told in a way that's not confusing at all, in my opinion. Actually, from the beginning, you're told what they are, what's their purpose, and what's why they're there. And then throughout the movie, you have other characters meet other people, they tell them who they are and what their purpose is, and then you get that dribble throughout the movie, which I hope for most viewers they didn't find very confusing, because I've been known to have a little bit of a hard time absorbing some movies, like Tenet, for instance. I still don't understand Tenet, but I understood Dune quite a bit. This movie easily could have been like a Tenet, where we let's just play it out of how it goes, and like hopefully you get it at the end. No, but which is a good thing, that I'm glad that they didn't, because you don't need to do that with this type of movie. You don't need to confuse audiences of who you are, because that shouldn't be your mission, is to confuse audiences and people that are going to watch your movie. But I think that I've heard some people say that it is dense for them, which I can kind of understand. But I think that it's also just like, were you paying attention? It's pretty obvious of what's happening throughout the movie. There's multiple scenes of to catch you up and to remind you of what's happening and what's the main purpose and the threat of the movie, which I think that, it does very well. I will say that it does very, very well. It doesn't, and I kind of touched upon this about the characters and the story. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie that much, really, to me, which I was so happy about. The only thing that was kind of like familiar about Marvel was the comedy, but even though the comedy wasn't even, I wouldn't say that it was the strongest comedy, it did feel like it took some beats from other Marvel movies to kind of show you about to kind of bring some audiences like who might be getting a little lost of like, oh, this is a Marvel movie, like hey joke. But moving on, the bad guy, the villain in the movie, I think is done pretty well, and it's not your traditional villain. I think that this movie also kind of like shows you the world that the Avengers live in, but not from their perspective, from these other beings that are in the Marvel universe now, that could possibly be part of the Avengers in the future, or even in beyond. Because if you've been watching Marvel for like the past 6 or 7 years, they've been doing this thing where they want to explore more of the cosmic universe of Marvel. Like you got Guardians of the Galaxy, even with Thor and Asgard and all that, and now the Eternals, Captain Marvel. That's all kind of like expanding more, and this is just kind of like it shows you like who created their world and how it's created and how it's how it's shaped and all that, their universe, not knowing if it's going to be affected by the what happens when they use the multiverse or all that. I'm not sure if that's going to affect that at all. It might, I'm not sure. But I thought that it was done in such an interesting way where you're like, oh, this is how this universe works. This is what happens. This is why this is happening, or this is why they weren't allowed to help out with the Avengers or help out with Thanos or do this or do that. It's very interesting of how it works, And yeah, every character has their shining moments, their shining moment, if you will, and it's all done very well. The characters with different motives than others, which is, what I like to see. If you get everybody who's going to be on the same page and, is all, we're all on the team, buddy, yeah, let's go. It's just, for me, it kind of gets boring. It's like, we've seen that with the Avengers in their other movies and how they do that. I want to see if it's going to be a little bit different in this one, which it was, thankfully. There is a lot of build-up. There's a lot of character moments that are very strong. There's a lot of emotion in the movie that I think that has been missing in other Marvel movies. Aside from like Infinity War and Endgame. With other movies that are like, like a one-off character or like an Ant-Man or whatever. There's a lot more emotion in this than like an Ant-Man or Thor even. Like it's a lot of it's a very different pace. It's a different pace, which I enjoyed. Again, I read the reviews I didn't read them like before I saw them. I just read them after I saw them because seeing reviews nowadays, especially like today, don't sway my opinion on certain movies. Like I can usually tell if I want to see the movie by the trailer nowadays. That's what really gets me. It gets me to go see the movie. I used to not be like that though. And I will say that I regret ever taking sides of critics, ever. It's very stupid. It's like, wait, you're going to tell me what to see and what not to see? Am I going to just, listen to you, almighty critic? No, I don't think so. I'm going to check this out for myself. And if you've seen, especially like Rotten Tomatoes and all that, that's like the do or die for movies, right? That's where they go to live or they go to die. People are just so swayed on what the score is on Rotten Tomatoes that they'll just completely miss a movie because of it. And it shouldn't be like that. That shouldn't be how we see movies and how we decide to watch a movie or not watch a movie. It should be you if you want to go see it or not. Like I'm sure there's movies that you've seen like a trailer for, like, yo, that looks good, I'm gonna go see that, or that looks like shit, I'm not gonna see that, and so on and so forth. But I think that with this movie, which has been on the strange side of reviews, I'm actually very confused on why the opinions ranging from critics from positive to negative is it's so big that it's either like they like it or they hate it. And that hate is very strong. And that like is also very strong. It's so weird because it's like, we think of like a critic has like should be like this know all be all. They're painted as like this expert in movies, yet, and they can like dissect every little thing. They should be able to put biases aside and not be swayed by your emotion of how you feel about a movie. But in this case, it's kind of weird because like they are like trying to do their job, but in some of these snippets of the reviews, it just like it feels like, wait, what did we watch the same movie? Did you go in there like how I did, like not knowing anything, like being curious and being invested? Like, what was your? I don't know. Like, if their motivation was set, in neutral, as it should be. I think. So I pulled up some reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that we can read, not all of them, but some of them, like what they're saying and like how it differences, how much they're, lopsided when it comes to like the positivity and the negativity towards the Eternals. So I'm gonna go through a couple positive ones, and I'll go through some negative ones. Okay. So the first positive that I see is the Marvel shill on this podcast approves, and it's sure pretty enough to admire, even being a big leap. Okay, I can agree with that. It is a leap. It is not like any Marvel movie that you've ever seen before, I think, in my opinion, which is a good thing. I mean, we've been going through Marvel for like more than a decade, and they, for the most part, a lot of their movies are very formulaic. They just kind of do this and get the thing done and then move on. Which, is, if you enjoy that, there's nothing wrong with that. But, if you're somebody like who's seen this before, maybe you saw them when you were kids all the way up, you're like, okay, maybe let's try to change it up a bit. Maybe let's just try to like, okay, we understand that you can tell a good You can put out a good movie and make a good amount of money, but is it the strongest it could have been? Is it as different as it could have been? Is it told in a way that's not so formulaic and not so on the nose and some that we've seen many, many times? Or are you going to take a leap like this guy says, it being a big leap? In my opinion, I enjoyed that. So me and this guy really, agree on that. Like, it is different. I mean, I'm not saying that every Marvel fan is going to like it, but it is different enough for me to be like, oh, I mean, that was pleasant. I enjoyed that quite a bit. All right, now moving on to this is another positive review. Eternals isn't a complete success with issues large and small. That said, it's an impressive effort. This is a big swing, and while it might not be a home run, we're looking at some solid contact. For an undertaking like this, that's a win. I agree with that too. I do. It's not perfect in my opinion. It definitely is not perfect. Where that is for me, it's like it's got a little bit of a pacing issue, because there's a lot of stuff to be told about these people. Because again, we've never even seen them before. We don't know anything about them. But I think that's better. That's more good than bad in this movie, because we need to know who they are. If you don't know who they are, you're just not going to get any investment. You're not going to care. You're not going to give a shit. Which is, I'd rather take a little bit on the long side than being too quick for what it's supposed to be, and you walking away like, what the fuck was that? Like, why did I even watch that? Which is not to say that some of the characters in this outshine others. There definitely is that. There is some characters that just get more screen time than others, which is, that happens with every Marvel movie. Every Marvel ensemble, big cast movie, that always tends to happen in some way, whether it be, very minimal or just like, a big glaring problem. But that's just going to happen with pretty much every movie. It's a movie. It's a 2.5 hour movie, 2 hours and 37 minutes, and you got to tell a gigantic, sweeping story about these people, which, in my opinion, again, they did a good job with. All right, now we're going to this is going to be a negative one. Let's just kind of go through with the flow. I'm not going to read all the articles or all the little snippets of interview or reviews, but, just to see what these people are saying. This is a negative one. A slack film in the way one gets to be when one has no pressing need to come in at a reasonable running time. I don't know why this guy had to write it like that. He could have just said the running time sucks. Like, I don't know why. That's another thing with these critics, man. I don't know if it's just me or you that kind of see this, but when they write these little snippets, it's like, what the hell is this about? What are you trying to, like, I'm an average Joe, right? I'm just trying to see what people think about a movie. You don't got to fucking twist my brain with this stupid shit. I mean, it just feels like it's so like an elitist mentality. Like, oh, I saw it, and now I'm gonna write a little Shakespeare, snippet of what I thought of it. Let me read that again. A slack film in the way one gets to be when one has no pressing need to come in at a reasonable running time. I still don't know what that means. Like, I still don't know what that means. Just say it's too long or it's not long enough or whatever. Like, you were just mad at the runtime. Which, again, like, this is another thing. Why the hell does it matter how long a movie is? Why? If it gets the story told, if it can do its job, which I think that this movie does, that's a good thing. It doesn't. This is where I think that this is such a... These guys are so used to the Marvel formula of it being 2 hours and that's it. An hour 45, that's it. Get in and get out and that's it. It's like they're so held up to this formula of how, like, the MCU has been doing this for many, many years, and now they get a movie that's like longer than normal, and they're like, what? It can't be that long. Who allowed this to happen? Who allowed this? Like, this guy, like, his brain is broken from that. I don't understand that. It's so bizarre to me. All right, okay, let's go to another negative review. Maybe it's just that guy. Maybe that guy was just like, oh, it's so weird. It's like, and for some reason, this guy's profile pic on Rotten Tomatoes is a animated one. Like, he drew it or had somebody draw it. Why can't you just use your own picture, bro? Like, I don't understand what this is. Let's go. I mean, imagine, like, this guy's fucking, like, he got a fucking, like, he owns me. that was just a silly review. Let's just or a snippet. I didn't read the whole thing because that'd be long. But I think that this, when they put this out, these little snippets this is like the headliner, like the thing to get you to click on it. So it's like clickbait kind of. Eternals creates the illusion of a maturity that would have elevated it to director Chloe Zhao's standards. I don't know what that means. Is it not mature enough? Like it has like it's trying to be mature, but it can't be that mature. It's like, dude, like you've been watching Marvel movies for how long? Like how long have you been watching them for? Over a decade. What do you expect? I mean, sure they can get a little bit darker. They can be darker. Some could be more darker than others, but they still have their their way, and for many cases, I think this film does go more mature than others. A lot more, I think. A lot more, I think. Maybe they're just mad at the director. I don't know. All right, another negative one. Let's see. By the way, this movie has not a very good score anyway, for that matter. It's still the lowest rating Marvel movie, ever, I think. 47% Rotten Tomatoes. That's very rotten in the terms of Marvel movies. So let's move on. Okay, this guy's got another rotten one. So let's continue. None of the characters come across and compelling. Yes, these beings are supposed to be immortal, but you'll feel as if your time with the Eternals has lasted for an eternity. Again, another shot at how long the movie is, or how much is in the movie. I mean, like, again, you saw how many characters are in this movie. You get from the first scene of the movie that this is going to be a lot of information. This is going to be very different. This is going to be, how are these things here? Why are they here? What's their purpose? There's a lot to unpack in the movie, and I think that the runtime is fine. It's fine. All right, so this guy really, really hated it. This is another negative review, which, seems to be a lot of these right now. Eternals is not a good movie. It's not a good comic book movie. It's not a good action movie. It's not a good Marvel movie. It somehow feels overstuffed and empty at the same time. It's muddled and convoluted. It's a bland and boring and bewildering mess. Okay, I mean that's his review. That's fine, but I just feel like it's like that's strange. I don't know if this guy is. I don't know. All right, this guy is a positive review. His is a little bit different than, it's going to be a little bit refreshing, hopefully. I've really enjoyed Eternals despite it being too long, and one of the reasons was the humor. Another was just that it felt kind of quirky and different from most Marvel movies these days. So again, it's not like a Marvel movie that he's seen recently these days, and that's why he kind of dinged it. But it was a positive review. He gave it a tomato, so it's not completely bad, I guess, in this guy's eyes. But he had some problems with it, which I mean is reasonable, I think, with everybody. But to say it's like it's the worst one they've ever made, which has been cycling the internet like wildfire. I mean, I just don't see it. I do not see it. And I think the reason is, I'm going to stop reading the reviews right now. I'm going to stop reading them. I think what happened was that it's very much not like the formula. It's not the structure that they're known for. It's not what they're trying, what they're, they have this thing that a Marvel movie's got to be this, it's got to be that, it has to have this, and it's got to end with that. And the fact that it really doesn't, and it does its own thing, it might have broken these fools' brain, I think. I mean, like I said, I've not been enjoying this so, formulaic thing. I've been wanting different stuff. I've been wanting newer stuff. I've been wanting to, challenge these characters, give them a threat, give them a purpose, give them stakes, do other things with them, make them more interesting. And I've always been an open head of, like, they could do whatever they want. They should, because just because they don't make it like so commercial, so funny and jokey, just because it's not like a huge Avengers type of action movie, that there's stakes, there's character development, there's emotion, which I thought that there was in this movie, that it's so not like the traditional commercial Marvel movie, and it just might have broke their brains. I think it might have. Like I don't know. Like this guy is one more. One more. I have to put this out here. Marvel is the peanut butter of movies. Zhao is the filet mignon of directors, and I just wasn't fully enjoying my peanut butter steak. What the fuck? Like he's calling it right now. Marvel is the peanut butter of movies. So he's already going in expecting peanut butter. He's already going in expecting it's got to be like this. It's got to be like that. I mean, that's what I'm reading right here. And then he's like, Chloe Zhao is a filet mignon. Like, I mean, yeah, she's an Oscar-winning director. But this is the movie that she made. This is the movie that she signed on to make, I think. I mean, I highly doubt that they said, like, no, you can't do this. You have to direct it. You got to direct it our way. I highly doubt that's what happened. These guys are, like, saying, like it's almost coming across like Marvel made her direct this movie in this way. I don't believe this. I mean, it's kind of weird because it's like they're standing up for her, yet trashing her movie. It's like, what? I don't understand. I mean, I've seen her in interviews and in, press conferences. She seems very happy about it. Now, that could be because she's, playing along, which, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure every director in every Marvel movie has to kind of play along to make a Marvel movie because I'm sure that they have, like, a set story that is going to be, overarching and, all these interconnected things. But I'm sure, like, all the people who sign up to do these know about that. And like, yeah, I'll do it. I want to do it. And then that's it. And then you get people who are like saying she should have never done it. Like, what? I mean, like, first of all, you don't know that. You're making something up that's probably not even true. Like, and it's just like you're running with it now. You're like, this is why she directed it. This is why this or that happened. And it's like, okay, whatever, dude. And even this with this one review that I just read, Marvel is the peanut butter of movies. Like, you saying that already kind of puts in my head that you're expecting this, you're already expecting that you're not judging it and you're not reviewing it as its own thing. Yeah, I know that they're all kind of, they have been like that in the past. And we've just been okay with that in the past. We've allowed ourselves to be like, we're gonna go watch a Marvel movie. It's like this, it's like that. It does this. It's like Westerns now. You just expect it to be that way. But now with this thing coming out with the Eternals and it being different in characters, different in the story, the structure of the story, the material that it's trying to tell the story about, which it being not very much the Avengers at all. I mean, I'm saying that it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. It doesn't feel like that this is the same world of the Avengers sometimes, which is a great thing because I don't want to hear about Spider-Man. I don't want to hear about Iron Man or Captain America or see them in action or say, hey, how can I help? That's not its job. It's about the Eternals. I was telling my friend about this, like, because they fight enemies that are so freaking stronger, so much stronger than any Avenger because they are immortal. They're like gods. They like fight like, creatures that can't be really killed by like any other weapon that they have or anything. I was telling my friend, like, if I saw Spider-Man like swing in and be like, hey guys, you need some help? I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, bro. This is not your movie. That you don't belong here. Just don't. This is not yours. They are trying to expand the universe of Marvel, expand it even grander than you have ever thought. And you're like, no, I want to see the Avengers again. I want to see Infinity War again, Endgame again. Like, no, dude. You're closing your mind. You're not letting yourself branch out. And this review of him saying it's the peanut butter of movies just nails in that coffin that they think that way. They straight up don't want it to be any different. And that's sad. Maybe that was, I mean, this can't be, I'm sure this guy doesn't speak for everybody. I'm sure he doesn't. But, if everybody's saying, I mean, this guy's saying the MCU's first DCEU film with a rotten review. I mean, this is a hit piece. This is like a organized attack, orchestrated attack almost. I mean, this is just this is so dumb. I'll read one more. And this one I'm skimming it over right now as I'm speaking, but this one just seems like it's going to be a bad review or a bad snippet of a review. He goes with gorgeous and vacant. The Eternals is the most numbing entry in Marvel's 13-year-old MCU franchise, even as it struggles to be its weirdest and most philosophical. I mean, all right, dude. All right. He's already like referencing like how long they've been doing these movies, and like it kind of expects it to be the same, which it's like, why would you want that? Do you want that? Do you want them all to just be the same? Don't you want anything different? Tell a different kind of story? I mean, we are introducing other characters, right? Like, these guys are all new. You expect them to have like the same story as Iron Man or Spider-Man or Captain America? I mean, do you honestly think that that's in the realm of possibilities? Like, just hearing that statement right there, me saying that, do you really want that? I certainly don't. Okay, yeah, after reading, going through these reviews and seeing what they thought, I mean, I could see why they would say that. And I can see how some of them, the positive ones are like, yeah, it's a good breath of fresh air. That's a good movie. And I've read some too, and I encourage you to read some of the positive ones as well. Because again, this movie is pretty much split down the middle, pretty much, of who likes it and who doesn't like it at all. And it doesn't have to do with any politics or any, stuff like that. It's just, I'm watching it for what it is and the story that they want to tell us. And I enjoyed it. I really, really did. It was different, but it was still Marvel. But it was different enough for me to be like, oh, this is a new, interesting story, interesting characters, interesting concept, an interesting team in the Eternals, which is like, I'm in. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. That being said, it's not perfect. Pacing is just a little bit for me. Some of the jokes don't hit. And the action's actually really cool. I enjoy the action. A couple characters made a couple just didn't land for me. Just didn't. But overall, I'm giving this an 8.2 out of 10. And if you saw my tweet last Saturday, that's my review. An 8.2 out of 10 for the Eternals. I think you should see it. I really do. If you haven't been spoiled yet, try to go check it out. There's 2 end credit scenes, one in the mid credits and one at the very end of the movie, at the end of the credits actually, so stick around and check that out. Now, you just heard me give a very positive review of the Eternals and a very, and I did not expect to like it that much, I gotta say, or expect that much out of Marvel, but, I was very blown away by it. I mean, not blown away, but I was very intrigued, curious, and like, oh, this is opening doors that I like. We're getting different now. We're getting weird. Which is cool. Well, I mean, I think that this is going to be cool. Now, the next review, I mean, not review, but just kind of talking about a game that recently came out last Friday, which I was hyping up quite a bit, actually, I have to say, was Call of Duty Vanguard. And I've been talking to my friends about this pretty much the past 5 or 6 days, or the past week about this game. And even before that, I was very positive about Vanguard. I wanted to see it, not see it, play it. I was like, is anybody going to get Vanguard? And they were like, no, I'm not going to get that shit. I was like, well, I'm going to get it. And he's like, fine, you go ahead and get it. So I decided to get Vanguard. The sweet purchase of $70 to get Vanguard. I was excited to play it. I was like, I'm going to beat the story. I'm going to play the multiplayer like it's up the ass. I'm just going to play a bunch of it. I'm excited. I'm ready. Let's go. And I've, after about 3 days of playing it, pretty much all multiplayer, I have been like maybe halfway through the story. But I can tell you this right now. I was so wrong. I was incredibly wrong about this game. It's very... As much as there's 20 maps and there's a lot of different variations to play, game modes and all that, and pacing and different situations and customization for your guns and all that, and different, of course, the battle pass for Vanguard. I have to say, I haven't felt this empty or this bored with a Call of Duty game in a long time. And even after Black Ops Cold War, even after that, I just I haven't felt this bored in a while. And it's I gotta say, I was confident after the beta that there would be more stuff to do, that there would be better guns, better balancing, better maps and all that, better modes, and I think that at the end of the day, I was incredibly wrong. I mean, this game has 20 maps, like I said, about 27 weapons that you could, customize and all that, and it just feels so empty. And it has like maybe about, I think 12 or 15 operators that you can pick, and it just feels so empty. What I mean by that is every map feels the same, every game feels the same. Whether that be team deathmatch, domination, hardpoint, patrol, every game mode, every game flows exactly the same. Nothing's different. With every map too, it just feels exactly the same. Which I don't know why I thought that it would be better, right? Coming after the hit Modern Warfare in 2019, Black Ops in 2020. And this game, in a way, kind of feels like a little bit of a blend between the two. I'd say more so on the Modern Warfare, but also like kind of like the pacing a little. The pacing of the games kind of feels more Black Ops to me. Whereas the movement and the gunplay feels like Modern Warfare, which could have been a good thing, could have been a good blend. But I just feel like the maps in general are just very, very bad, very boring. Like I said, every game just kind of feels like it's first of all, nobody plays the objective. I realize that in this game, which is not the case which is kind of the case with every Call of Duty game. So, I tend to play more team deathmatch than hardpoint or domination. So I've been, trying to play all, that, but it just feels like it's just I'm bored of it already. And I did not want to say that because I was so invested, and I thought that it was going to be very good, actually. I thought that this was going to be a good Call of Duty. I mean, I really did. I thought that it was going to be... I thought that was just going to be, not the greatest, but just a better product than Black Ops Cold War. But I was sadly mistaken. And maybe it's just because I've been playing Call of Duty for the past, 2.5 years, for a lot, and this one just seems like it just didn't, elevate enough to be different that much, but it just feels like I'm just same old. It's just nothing has changed really. And you know what, maybe that's just what this game was the entire time. Maybe that's just what it was. It was just going to be a placeholder from the beginning, or when it was announced. It just feels like a placeholder because it's back in World War II, which I enjoy, which I'm fine with. But coming off after Modern Warfare, then going back to the Cold War, then back to World War II, it's like, okay, this is just going through the woodwork. This is just what they do every so often. In another 5 years, they'll make another World War II game with a similar story, a similar protagonist, similar feel, similar maps, and all that, and it's just going to be a cycle over and over and over again, which is it's not bad because they make money off of it. It's a good business model, but every year it's just I don't know, man. I think that maybe they got to switch to every other year for a Call of Duty game. I mean, maybe this is the time, because it just feels like it's such a wash. It's such a rinse and repeat of the same thing that I'm just tired of it. And I don't know if I don't know if I'll be able to stick with it. It just feels the same over and over again. And that just being the feel of the game, but in this particular game, the attachments are so broken in this game. I mean, they gave you the luxury of having 10 attachments without even having to sacrifice a perk or anything like that to make to allow you to have that. But in this game, every attachment does next to nothing for your weapon, really. It just it's just so weird of how little help it gives you your gun. Because, like, again, they said that because in World War II, there wasn't the biggest variety of guns back then as there is, like, in modern day now. Even back in the Cold War, there wasn't that many guns, compared to now. But since there's so very little guns back then, I mean, if you think of, like, the most popular guns in World War II, right? Like the M1 Garand, the Thompson, the MP40, the STG, so on and so on. The World War II, if you play World War II games, these guns, right? But it's like there just isn't that much you can do with that many guns. So they give you, or there isn't the greatest weapon selection, in terms of the amount of guns. So they just let you have 10 attachments to change them up a bit and look different. But at the end of the day, they don't really do all that much for your gun. So it just feels like it's just, what are we doing here? And there's so many attachments for your guns in this game. It's like, oh my God. Like, they're trying to cover up, like, the lack of variety of guns without as many attachments as you can put on your guns. And it's almost like, well, this is just breaking this is like breaking my immersion, because I'm not going to be walking around with a Thompson submachine gun with a damn sniper scope on it. It's just going to be stupid. It's going to be dumb. And it just feels like, nowadays you can make, you expect all these attachments. You want them to have more and more and more, because, in previous games, if it's not more than if the previous game has more than the current game, you're like, well, what the fuck happened there? Why is it like that? Why does a game in the past have more stuff than the current game? You just got to kind of, balance it out that way, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, this is just silly now. It's just too much now. And I think that with this game is just a big bag of too much. Too much Call of Duty right now. And again, like, I've been so on the side of Vanguard up until the release, but now I don't have the urge to play it. And the fact that in multiplayer, right? We just got campaign, zombies, and multiplayer right now. That's all we have. I hate that there's no factions in this game. Like, if you remember in Black Ops, there was the CIA and then the Warsaw Pact, or the Communists, whatever. And then Modern Warfare, you had the Coalition and the Allegiance, where you had the good guys and the bad guys. And then different factions had different operators with different skins. You can differentiate better. It's easier to see enemy players, and differentiate them. This one, there is no bad side or good side. You have pretty much, resistance type players throughout every faction, or not every faction, but every warring country included in the war, basically. So, and with that, since there being no teams, you can choose any operator that you want and play against them. So I could be as one operator, and I'll see like 5 other operators of that same, 5 other players with that same operator skin on the other team. While also on my side, I have another operator, other teammates that use my operator as their skin. So it's just like a big fucking, very corny, very cheesy type of multiplayer. It just feels like, to me, like it's like, whatever happened to just, having grunts or having, pretty basic ass players to play the game. Like, it's just, I kind of miss that. Now I understand, like, we're in an age of like, you want to be able to customize your guy as best as you can, but it's just like, or have people to relate to, or people that are like, oh, I like this guy, I'll be this guy. But I think that in an FPS multiplayer, I mean, that's like, I don't really see how you could be attached to those characters that much, because there's literally like no story behind them. Like, for some of them there is, don't get me wrong, that there is, but others that are just like, they have like the, their little like cutscene when you unlock them. It's just like, this is very minimal story for even me to care. It's like, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it's just like, I don't give a shit about that. Just give me like a basic guy and I'll be him forever. I don't care about that. That seems to be happening with Battlefield as well, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Just let me point the gun and shoot the enemy team. That's the point of these FPS shooters. That's the whole thing of why they work. It's fun to fucking kill the other team. I don't want to have to pick a character like who has a backstory. I mean, it's nice, but like I don't need it. Like, you know what's cool? What's really cool is Halo Infinite. You're just a Spartan, and you can customize them however you want. Armor pieces with colors, with all that shit, and that's it. And that's really it. And then it's like, I mean, like it doesn't look. To me, it looks cool. I can see why others are like, nah, I don't want that. But like to me, it's like that's the way you do customization. Now with these pre-made operators of their story or their how they look or whatever, it's just like I don't give a crap. I just want to shoot people. I mean, I'm just at that age where it's just like, give me a good game that plays well. And I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And I don't know. I think they just kind of got away with that. And just we're all about these characters with like pretty shitty and weak stories, and it's like, I don't care. And, to go on from story to the campaign in this game, which I was also very excited for. I have not finished it yet, but it's, in my opinion, it's got to be the most the worst Call of Duty campaign that I've seen in a while. Like when I'm talking about seeing, the graphic wise, it looks kind of bad. It kind of does, and the motion and the movement of the characters, and some parts of the game just look kind of bad. It also doesn't look finished either, if I'm being completely honest. There's a scene with a guy with a flamethrower that's, trying to, douse some enemies with the flamethrower, but there's no fire coming out of it. A lot of cutscenes just seem like very, I don't know, like very 2005-y, 2008, like 2010, like just like shoot the enemies and just move on. And that's just like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but there's no real, I don't know, it's just like I'm not really grasping with the whole thing. The story is interesting. Don't get me wrong, the story is very interesting, but the missions you play is like, it's just not there. I mean, the first mission is pretty god-awful, I will admit. It's very boring. It's very, literally, like this. Literally, the mission is on rails. And it's like, you got to go down one path, and that's it. It's like, okay, cool. It's very basic. It's very uninspired. Again, the cutscenes, the acting, the actors that they have, the actual story of it, when you watch it play out in the cutscenes, is pretty good. The missions are just, They've gotten better, but it's not the greatest yet. I mean, it's definitely, they're good missions or they're bad missions. It started off bad, it got better, and then it's kind of stalling for me now, which I just got finished playing yesterday. Those missions, but it could get better, it could get worse. I don't know. It's an okay one for me. If you're listening to this, having played, about halfway through, the cutscenes are really good. The story and the cutscenes are very good. I can't deny that. It gets very interesting of what the characters are involved in. It's very cool in that sense. But I'm playing a game. The missions got to be tight, bro. And they're very lackluster. Well, I'll say that. It's so far the game is very, very, on multiplayer and campaign, very lackluster. Just not full. It feels like a very half-assed game. Half-assed game is the best way I can describe Vanguard, which is probably what they were going for anyway. It feels like a transition period to get us by with new content and before the next one that comes out, which I've heard is going to be like it's going to be back in Modern Warfare, which is hopefully it's not a victim of what has been happening with the Black Ops and now Vanguard. I do want to say though, I would rather play the Vanguard or I'd much rather play the Black Ops campaign than the Vanguard campaign so far. I really would. And even the multiplayer, I'd play that too. So right now I'm at the point where I'm like, I kind of don't want to play it ever again. I pretty much denounced the multiplayer. I can't get behind it. I really can't. I have no desire to play it ever again. I really don't. I denounced the multiplayer in Vanguard. Not yet with the story. Hopefully I can finish it. So we'll see how that goes. again, it's not the story part. It's not the cutscenes. It's mainly the missions are just so boring. Which is just it's not good. It's not good. I have no review yet. So maybe in the coming weeks, if I finish it, I'll tell you what I think of it. But that's just my initial thoughts on the first weekend of launch. Disavow the multiplayer, but I'm not going to give up on the story yet, unless it's really that bad. Which we'll have to wait and see, though. We'll have to wait and see. I can't leave you guys off with a little bit of NFL talk. Now, I know this is running a little late, or a little long with the podcast, so I'm not going to cover every game. However, I will cover a couple things that have been happening in this league, which has had a pretty interesting couple weeks. First of all, you got Aaron Rodgers, causing arguments about vaccinations and all that, and with COVID-19 and stuff like that. Going on the Pat McAfee show, pretty much exclusively, telling his story of his situation and all that. Whether you believe him or not, at least, you can kind of hear what he's saying, and, not being so, it just, like, if you want to hear what he has to say, if you even give a shit, check it out. Maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, cool, or, agree with him or not. Go and check it out. Don't just try to. It's out there for you to watch. If you're like confused about the situation that he's in, it's pretty much out there on Pat McAfee's channel, uncut, unedited, so you can see what he's saying. You make your decision of what you think of him or not. It's don't let anybody else tell you what's going on. And then the situation with Henry Ruggs, which is devastating. I mean, absolutely devastating. And that team, by the way, more drama with that. But a defensive player, Damon Arnett, was on an Instagram Live, I believe, or TikTok Live. He was pretty much showing off a weapon and threatening somebody with a weapon, like if you come to my house or whatever. He's been released now from the Raiders. Which is crazy because it's like, I mean, I kind of want to point it to, this is just a fucking factor of having a team in Vegas, having a team in literally Sin City, where this city will eat you alive, I guess, if you don't have, I don't know, a grasp of what's happening. I mean, the Henry Ruggs thing was just stupid. He could have called for an Uber and just driven off. I've heard that the league has these services where you can call for a ride, and it'd be totally free. Like you can just call for a ride if you're drunk or you can't drive and you're at a party or whatever, because they take what you do off the field very seriously. You don't want to be in an accident, do something stupid, or be involved with something that could harm you, or put harm into anybody else's life. And he didn't do that. And it's a stupid thing that he just, he could have just, an Uber, that service, a friend, a teammate. It's just something that could have been avoided. And the fact that it wasn't is just very, very stupid and dumb. And he's going to be locked up for a while, deservedly, because he murdered somebody. But that's a shame. And that's just been, it's just a bunch of bad news in the NFL lately. Which is, it hasn't really affected me. I mean, it is sad. I mean, I do feel terrible about it. Both instances with Damon Arnett and Henry Ruggs. It's just bad. It's all bad. That team has been through a lot, though. John Gruden, Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, who's now off the team. I don't know, man. I don't think it could be the city that does that, because it is just two people. It being Vegas, I don't want to give Vegas a bad rap, but it's hard to think that it was, I don't know. It's just, you do wonder, like, it's because they play in Vegas, or because the nightlife and the entertainment there is so part of the nature of it. I mean, it is called Sin City. I didn't make that up, but that's what it's called, Sin City. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so it's kind of like, I joked about that, but I really shouldn't be. I'm sorry. It's got a bad reputation. It's creating a lot of conversation of like, Vegas. I don't know about that. I don't know. But I will run through a couple scores that caught my eye. Just a couple. I'm not going to. I said I wasn't going to go through every game, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Only a few, because this week wasn't that exciting for me. To be honest with you, this Thursday night game was kind of horse shit. Colts beat the Jets. Expected. They kind of made a little bit of a comeback there, which is, they scored 30 points on them, which is, not great, but you can tell that they kind of quit at the end of the game, like, we won, whatever, they can score, we don't give a shit. Something kind of embarrassing, though. The Broncos beat the Cowboys, though. That was incredibly embarrassing. Incredibly, because the Cowboys were at home. They didn't score for 3 quarters. They scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, but it was just so, like, uninspired football. So uninvested, like, we can beat these guys. We can beat them easily. No, I mean, like, first of all, they got rid of Von Miller, which, might have been a factor of why they played so well. The defense, anyway. But, yeah, it was just like cool. I mean, like, they should not have won this game. The Broncos should not have won this game, but they did. So it's just like, it was just a funny thing to watch because of how bad that they played. Like, literally, like, they played so bad. Terrible, in fact. And, which I thought, before, the Cowboys were a good team. I thought that they were going to be one of the better teams in the NFL. They still have the potential to be. But this game was like, oh shit, we lost to them. Oh fuck. What do we do now? Yeah, well, we do better next week. That's all you can say. It's just play better next week. What else was interesting? The Falcons beat the Saints, which was mad, because the Falcons are actually now trending up. They're 4-4. Now, granted that the New Orleans Saints don't have Jameis Winston. They have Trevor Siemian, which is a bit yikes for me. But, seeing Trevor Siemian throughout the league and do his thing and just not be that good of a quarterback in general, it is just kind of like, how is this guy still starting for this team? I mean, I know you don't have Jameis, but you also have Taysom Hill. Now, I'm not saying that Taysom Hill is a god, or Taysom Hill is going to be a great quarterback, but Taysom more than Trevor Siemian. You know what Taysom can do, what he gives to you as a starting quarterback. You forget that last year he went 3-1 as a starter. So there's something there. There's clearly some talent there, Sean Payton. Yet you go with Trevor Siemian? I just don't. I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons won, which is miraculous because of how they started, how they were. I mean, I was writing them off, after fucking week 3, week 4. I was like, this team's done. They've been on a run lately. They've been using Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson. Matt Ryan's been playing pretty good. I don't think that they'll make it to the end, but they have been playing better. They've been playing a lot better. Pats beat the Panthers. Sam Darnold has proven that he's just a bad quarterback. He's just bad. I mean, they just signed Matt Barkley this week to their team to hopefully replace this man, because when your coach is starting to put, like, saying that we can't be throwing the ball in that situation, or we can't be throwing the ball at that time, it's like, I mean, dude, this guy's not good. I mean, that you started 3-0, but now it's just like, now you're 5-4 or 4-5, and now it's just like, this is who he is now. He's not going to get any. You were playing the Patriots. I mean, they have J.C. Jackson. Yeah, they have a pretty good defense, but, like, you also lost to the Jets. So it's like, maybe this guy is just not it. I mean, he probably never was. I mean, I remember him at USC before he got drafted. He never seemed like a number 1 guy, in my opinion. And the fact that the Jets took him, we're also like, this team also doesn't know what their identity is, or what they know. It's a perfect marriage of disaster. It's a perfect marriage of, hey, we don't know what we are, so we're just going to draft this guy who looks pretty good, and he's projected number 1 and all that, and we got to go with that. It's like, no, it's just, it felt like a pick out of like Tom O'Shea's like, you got to pick this guy. Okay, we'll pick him. Mel Kiper said, "You gotta pick that guy. He's a good guy." Okay, we'll pick him. It's like that. The Bills lost to the Jaguars 6-9, 69. Very shocking. Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen. Josh Allen intercepted Josh Allen. Josh Allen fumbled Josh Allen. Recovered fumble by Josh Allen. Josh Allen was incredible this game. And then Josh Allen was also bad this game. Now, I'm not going to keep saying it like that. The Josh Allen from the Bills did terrible. And the Josh Allen from the Jaguars played amazing. Probably the best game of his young career, Josh Allen. And then Josh Allen was just like, hey, yo, I'm Josh Allen. I'm going to throw the ball like I'm Josh Allen. But then Josh Allen was like, I'm going to tackle like Josh Allen. I'm going to tackle Josh Allen and intercept Josh Allen. And me, Josh Allen, is going to fumble Josh Allen. That was probably terrible radio, but that's okay. But the thing with the Bills is, though, I have Stephon Diggs on my team, and he did decent. But I'm getting the feeling that Josh Allen, the year of last year, might not happen this year again. And I'm not sure why. I have a couple theories of why. One, the natural theory of, well, teams have finally seen Josh Allen play good. Now they can prepare for him better, because before he just wasn't very good. I mean, he was decent, but he wasn't like great like last year. And then two, maybe they're making Josh Allen just not play his type of football. If you've been watching the Bills games, he likes to run a lot and just chuck it. Like you're playing a video game, like you're playing Madden. He runs and then guns it. Now he'll miss, he'll make it, they'll turn it over, but he's running and throwing it a lot. Which I don't know if that's like why. Like he's in the pocket too. He plays in the pocket too, but a lot of the times it's just like he's running for his life and just heaving it. Which can't be good for your quarterback. I mean, he threw the ball 47 times. I mean, that's not like a ton, but it's like, why are you throwing it that much? I mean, Justin Herbert threw it 38. They lost. Lamar Jackson threw it 41 times. Jacoby Brissett threw it 43. Teddy Bridgewater, they got the win. He only threw it 28 times. But yeah, it just seems like whenever he's throwing the ball, it's like he's running for his life and just like throwing it like it's Madden. Like, woo, I can make any throw because they think that I can. But it's like, I don't know, maybe that's it. Maybe they're just like not playing him right now. Maybe they think that he can do like flashier. Maybe it just feels like they want to do the flashiest play because one, it was the Jaguars. Two, that they think that they're all big and bad. I don't know. That's just what I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. But whenever I see them play, it's like they're always playing like, oh, we're going to go score on like 2 plays. I don't know. That's just kind of what I think. But it's like, if I was the offensive coordinator, I would do the exact same thing. Because I do think that he can do all that. But maybe he just can't do it every time, every game. Or maybe just the Jaguars are just like, you know what? We got more games to win, bro. This was their first home win in like 400 and some days. They had the first game that they won in forever was in London, and then they have never won. And then after that, they didn't win, and then they won again. Finally, won at home in Jacksonville. I mean, that's got to be incredible for the Jags fans because they haven't seen that in over a year. That's insane. So maybe it was that. Maybe it was just like, you know what? This is going to be a scrappy game. We're going to play the Bills very good. They're not going to know what hit them because they expect us to roll over and they expect us not to play well. But you know what? We're in Jacksonville. We're at home. We're going to play for the fans. And that's probably what happened. What else? The Chargers beat the Eagles. Expected. The Chiefs barely beat the Packers, guys. They barely beat the Packers. And this is something that when I was watching, I was like, oh, Kansas City's they are not good. Like, I know that they were playing the Packers. They didn't have Aaron Rodgers. They had Jordan Love. who went 19 for 38 and 1 touchdown, 190 yards. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I can expect this. I can kind of expect that the Packers weren't going to score any points because, I mean, Jordan Love never plays. He's not, which goes back to the depth of the second string quarterback. There's no depth with most of them. They can't do anything, and it's just been proven. Like they make bad throws. He went for 19 for 34, an interception and 1 touchdown, and it's just like they have like no command of the team, like the starter does, which is expected because he's the starter. But it's like you drafted Jordan Love in the first round, and he plays like dog shit. Like the Chiefs' defense is not that good either. Like, what is happening behind the scenes? The secondary quarterbacks, the bench is just terrible. This is just proving my point of the depth in the quarterback position. There's like none. It's really sad. And the Chiefs, I mean, Patrick Mahomes went 20 for 37, 166 yards, 1 touchdown on a team without Aaron Rodgers. Now, I know Rodgers is not playing defense, but it's like, dude, like the Chiefs, they're 5-4. They're 3-2 at home. They play just such boring football, such uninspired football, and they still walk with swagger, like they run the league. It's like, no, you don't. You absolutely don't. You play like you're just eking by. You're getting lucky. You're getting very lucky. You just beat the Giants, who were bad. You just beat the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, which, in my opinion, become a bad team because they can only score 7 points and really have no shot, even with a first-round quarterback in Jordan Love, which is like, that's very concerning in my opinion. That's very concerning. But the Chiefs, I still don't buy them. I don't buy Patrick Mahomes at all. I just don't. There's nothing there that I see with that team that convinces me that they'll bounce back. There's nothing there. The fact that they can only score 13 points against the Packers is just beyond me. Patrick Mahomes throwing 160 yards I don't see it. I really don't see it, and I don't see it ever happening at all this season. A couple more I'll touch on, and then I'll get out of here. Cardinals beat the 49ers 31-17 without Kyler Murray, which is a bit shocking, the fact that that was kind of their B offense. I mean, I'm not saying that one player makes the entire team, breaks them. But the fact that they did not have, that they had Colt McCoy, who has been a secondary quarterback for like at least 6 years, maybe even more, the fact that they can score 31 points with that man leading the team. I've said about the depth in the quarterback position is very small. Well, he's like the bright shining light. He's the one who's like, you know what, I can do it. Him, Cooper Rush, Geno Smith sometimes, and that's about it really. That's all who I can see who's like, yeah, they're good starters. And Colt McCoy, like, granted, he has a great team behind him. He does. But if, and Jimmy G played okay. He had 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Colt McCoy had 249 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, but the fact is that Colt McCoy went 22 for 26. So they took care of the ball. They ran the ball better, and they did, they just played better. And George Kittle went off too. He had 6 receptions for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. So he did pretty well. The team is just not there yet. And I'm not sure if that's because of Kyle Shanahan, because he's been there for so long. I don't think that it's it. I think that it's just like, I don't know, because they were just at a Super Bowl like 2 years ago. And now they're like 2-5, which is like, now granted, they played like the best team in the league, the Cardinals, who I think they played earlier and like barely lost. So I don't know. This is kind of an eye opener to Kyle Shanahan. I still think that he's one of the better coaches in the league, just because of his his resume and what he's done. Super Bowl appearance, good records, pretty good defense, and I don't know, just not really there yet. Titans beat the Rams 28-16. I mean, what can I say? Being a Rams fan and watching them play this game, and, I thought that this was going to be a walk in the park, honestly, because I still, up until this point, did not buy the Tennessee Titans. I just think that they're, not that solid of a team. That they're like they get lucky. They're like wearing like a cloak, like a cloak that's like says like we're an elite team, but you just got some scrawny looking team behind them, behind the cloak. They just didn't really seem all that convincing to me. However, Matthew Stafford played bad. They rushed him throughout the night. He had 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He threw the ball too much, 31 for 48. It was just an all-time of our offensive line could not stop them for the life of us. It was just bad. And we played bad. Ryan Tannehill played not very good either. He went 19 for 27, 143 yards, and 1 touchdown and 1 interception. I mean, that's not great either. But the overall, we didn't have the fight in us. We were we looked confused. Like if you would see when they would show Sean McVay on the sideline, he looked confused. He looked fucking dumb right. Didn't know what to do. He didn't know what was happening. And then I was just like, oh, I don't feel confident at all in this game. Like he just looked. There were so many shots of him on that broadcast of him just staring at the other side of the field, but looking so clueless. Like, absolutely clueless. And I was just like, oh, boy, this is not good. And it's weird because this shouldn't be happening. You think that with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Darrell Henderson, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, we should be flying by. We should be flying. We have Aaron Donald. We didn't have Von Miller yet, so he's not playing yet, but he will be soon. For the defense. But the line just could not hold back the Titans' defense. And they didn't even have Derrick Henry. They had Adrian Peterson, who came back. And by the way, I'm going to see if I can find his stats real quick. Peterson. I don't think he played that well, though. Leading rusher was Foreman. So he's Dante Foreman, who had I believe he had, 5 carries for 29 yards. So not a great game either. We just turned the ball over too many times. And it was just embarrassing. We looked clueless. We didn't look like we had no plan, which is shocking because we have a pretty damn good coach and a quarterback that prepares a lot in Matthew Stafford. And we didn't look that good. And it's a shame because we are a better team, and I think we are better. But again, I think that this is like the Titans' brand of football. They're not that flashy. Besides Derrick Henry, they're not that flashy. Sure, they have A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, who I still think is not the greatest quarterback, but they know how to get these wins, and that to me should be enough. And I think that is, enough to say, hey, you know what? They might not be the best looking team, but they know how to win. And they know how to win against big teams. And that's ultimately what's going to win you the Super Bowl, is just grinding it out, figuring out the other team, and just playing well and executing. And that's what they did. And that's where we just looked absolutely clueless and didn't know what to do. And that's why we lost. And then, lastly, I won't go too deep into this, but the Steelers beat the Bears. They beat them 29-27, which was the game with probably the worst taunting penalty that I've ever seen in my life. Maybe not my life, but in a very, okay, maybe not my entire life, but it's up there. And in a part of the game where they walk off the field right there, they most likely win that game. And that taunting call, it being such a small offense, when I looked at it, when I saw it, I was like, where is he taunting? He's not like actually like doing anything like taunting. He's just kind of staring at the other sideline. Which is, if that is like taunting, then, or yelling, like why does that not get called more often? I mean, I just feel like in that scenario, in that situation during the game, in that time of the game, I was just like, I don't see how you could possibly call a penalty like that and call for taunting. Like that just seemed, and it just felt like this just isn't fair. Like that is so, that kills everything about that game. That kills their momentum. That puts Pittsburgh back on the field, and they can keep going, and eventually they would get a field goal, and win the game. It's just, it's so bad. It didn't make any sense, and it takes everything out of the game, man. It makes you think that, why would any ref do that? Why would they think that that's fine? Like, it's like, do you want all the attention now? I just feel like the officiating and then the rules that have been implemented with the taunting and all that, it makes these, I don't know, it just feels like it takes all the energy out of the game. It takes all the heart out of the game, and just a stupid penalty like that is just so deflating, and it just deflates the entire game and the audience who's watching. Not just of the fan bases, not with the players, but even like me at home watching the game. It's like, what? And yeah, as a neutral spectator, you're like, that's not fair. That's just not, that why was that even called? It's just like a stupid, like, it goes back to, like, you gotta let the players play the game in those moments, and that call is just, I can't support it. I denounce that call. That I denounce the taunting rules in the NFL. I truly, truly do. There are so many taunting calls and taunting penalties in this league now that have just been like, you scratch your head to be like, I don't know about that. And they got to change it. I know they just recently changed those rules like this year, but they got to go back. I mean, you really are taking the fun out of football. And I know, like, it's just you're not causing any harm really when you do that. The majority of when you taunt, if you even do taunt, you don't really get people injured at all. Like, it's not like they're saying, oh, you could knee check them, or you can lead with your helmet to tackle them. No, it's just taunting. It's normally after the play. Sure, it might start a couple fights, but normally in the NFL, for the most part, there aren't that many injuries that occur during a fight or a scuffle in the NFL. Hockey, yeah, for sure. But in the NFL, usually it's just like and they also diffuse it pretty quickly. So I don't think that the taunting is really something that could, I don't know, just why? You're taking the fun out of it now. Because when they're playing those games, there's a lot of emotions running high. And there's a lot of stakes out there. There's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of, emotion built up. You got to let that out in some way. I'm not saying, like, hit the guy, but, talk some chatter. Talk some shit. Talk shit. Trash talk. It's fun. This whole thing of, like, trying to suppress, like, these, oh, you got to be nice and not taunt and not do anything, that could offend a player. Okay, offend, yeah. Don't say anything that'll offend them. But if you can, like, say, like, hey, you're shit, bro. Like that. I mean, like, come on. You've been doing that since you were fucking 10, 5 in Little League. Give me a break. Anyways, boys and girls and ladies and men and women, everybody who's listening to this podcast, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube and listening on the podcast feeds. Again, I will say this every time. I encourage the likes. I encourage comments. Please subscribe if you haven't to the YouTube channel. Leave again, like I said, like and comment. Share this video. If you're on the podcast feed like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, rate, review, share as well. Let me know what you're thinking of the show. And please rate and review. That helps a lot. I appreciate you guys coming to listen every week, even though that it may be, I don't know, it may be just, you forget. And if you come back and listen, I appreciate that as well. But anyways, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva on every platform, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I will see you guys next week.